Hey everyone, welcome to Zenny62. The ESPN rumor-driven news is that Jameis Winston may be possibly expended 3 to 4 games. We don't know. And I'm very uncomfortable sharing that information because it's not from the NFL. It's third hand, and people tend to think it's gospel because it's ESPN. And now, what I hate about this type of information is that it's taken as news when it in point of fact is not news because nothing has happened. It is conjecture. I don't care who it came from. It's conjecture. And it could be one game. Heck, maybe the Lord will bless Jameis given the circumstances and it's no game. I tend to think that perhaps one game is deserved, but I'll explain why. First of all, Jameis Winston in this situation was with his friend Ron Darby, and it's clear if you start looking at the situation, they didn't do anything. It's also clear that they're covering up for someone, but it's also clear that it sounded like it was a setup. There are a bunch of questions never asked. Who sent the car for Jameis Winston to be picked up? That was never, ever addressed in the Uber, okay? Because he didn't do it. If you read the testimony of people who were part of the witnesses, the car was called for him. For him. He didn't call the Uber, even though it was supposedly his account, all right? Who called it? Was it Ron Darby? Was it somebody else? Who did it? Who are the people yelling in the car about Jameis Winston? How did the woman know to mention a football player and then turn around and say, okay, I'm carrying this football player. I'm going to get this football player. You know, there's a lot in that story which doesn't meet the hot light of scrutiny. But the foremost fact is that this was never, ever, ever brought to the eyes of law enforcement, ever. Why did the woman not call law enforcement? Was she driving drunk? And if she was driving drunk, does that mean not just her vision, but her judgment was impaired? But see, no one wants to ask that question because of the times we live in. That's BS, okay? That's complete BS. In America, you are innocent until proven guilty. No one proved Jameis Winston was guilty of anything. Nothing's been proved, okay? I mean, the sad fact about it is that Jameis now is in a situation where people will think that he did it even if he didn't, just like the Erica Kinsman situation, which was the classic case of a woman getting really drunk and forgetting. First of all, a woman getting really drunk, changing her behavior when she gets drunk, going out and looking to get hooked up with a guy, getting hooked up, but then forgetting about it, and allowing her friends who were not there to fill in her empty vessel of memory with their own insecurities, fears, and issues with her going after black guys. All right? So there's a lot of racial politics in here that is covered up because, frankly speaking, most people telling the story are white. And I don't know the African Americans out there writing about them, many of them work for white publications. And unless you're going to get someone white who is, you know, like a lot of my friends are just completely with it, and they get it, and they're going to say, hey, look, tell the real truth. Unless you have people like that who are white, you're not going to hear the real truth. And I say it that way because I know people like yourself watching are those kind of folks that want to hear the truth, okay? Now, does that mean that Jameis, I mean, the whole point is, what's the lesson here? The lesson is, don't trust people. That's the lesson. Don't trust anybody. If you're Jameis Winston, you should have your own posse, your own driver. You shouldn't trust anyone in the public. You shouldn't be out and about because you have people who are interested in taking you down because you're a black quarterback who was the chosen one. It's that simple. And it's at a time in society where there are public relations organizations, people, corporations who are white, who want to take down someone black because they see the rise of people of color as some sort of threat to them. Does that sound stupid? Yes, it sounds very stupid. It's also sadly very real. Okay? So that's the real lesson. And the NFL should be protecting Jameis Winston from this sort of thing. It's shameful that the NFL isn't.